Now, I don't know about you, but I love the stories of Jesus on the road with his mates. And in Mark 6, we find Jesus sending his pals out for one of their early mission trips. And I really appreciate the way Eugene Peterson translates these words in the Message when he says, "Then they were on the road. They preached with joyful urgency that life can be radically different." Now, for me, being on the road has been very much my experience of what it means to follow Jesus. And I think for the disciples, it was where they learned what it was to follow him on the road with all that unpredictability. It's where they were tested and challenged, where literally sometimes the rubber needed to hit the road. But what happens when we're not on the road? What happens when our buildings are shut and our movement is restricted? How can we share what is significant of Christ to us in these circumstances? Now, we could just give up, or we could take that unplanned sabbatical we think we might deserve at the moment, or we could see this present challenge as an opportunity, but not just an opportunity to preach at people, but to really wrestle with what it means to be that radical salt and light difference in the world that Jesus spoke of in the Sermon on the Mount. I take a lot of comfort from the Apostle Paul. There's someone that loved being on the road, a pioneer and cultural chameleon if ever there was, who was able to think on his feet. But even Paul experienced his times of lockdown when he was jailed. But even during those times, he remained faithful to the call of mission that was placed on his life. And a significant number of his letters that we have in the New Testament were written during those times. So the kingdom of God, the hope of Jesus, cannot be contained by jail, by persecution, by natural disaster, or as a tomb, as we've recently celebrated at Easter, or, dare I say it, by a pandemic. Maybe we need to concentrate on what we can still do rather than what we can't, because we can still find ways of feeding the poor. We can still comfort the bereft. We can still reassure the confused. We can still make sure no one is forgotten. But if we want to truly connect beyond the walls of our churches, I think we do need to lose a lot of that religious jargon we slip into so easily if we want to help people find a language for their pain, for their anxiety, for their fear, for their loss, and for some their frustration. Now, as Jesus prepared his mates for what will be a long, hard road ahead, we find it in Mark 13 in a passage referred to as the Olivet Discourse. William Lane offers a great comment on these verses when he says that Jesus was asking his mates to be vigilant, stay alert, don't be led astray. They should refuse to be disturbed by contemporary events because God is in control. The gospel should still be good news for the poor. The gospel should still signal freedom for those who are held captive. It should still offer sight for those who can't see the road ahead. It should still be a burden lifted for those oppressed by stuff that's outside their control. So our challenge, therefore, as a church community is to ask maybe, what are we prepared to do and to risk to stay true to this vision of the kingdom of God? Go well in these days, sisters and brothers, and be that salt and light difference in the world that is needed at the moment. Cheers. God bless you.